Yes, it is.
5:01, and you are.
Okay. Welcome to the Oneonta Common Council Quality of Life and Infrastructure Committees on April 25th. Call to order, Councilmember Davies. Here. Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
And Councilmember Risberger. I am here. Okay. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay. All right, I'm not gonna go through voting to accept because I figure if there's an issue, we can talk about it. We only have two topics tonight, or actually, let me open it up to the floor. Usually I don't do this because nobody's here, but Bob, did you have anything you want to address specifically?
No, I just came here to see what your thoughts were on what I suggested last week about putting 2 stop signs on Church Street to slow the traffic down. And if anybody has any further thoughts, I just would like to hear.
Well, at this point, I don't have any further thoughts on it because right now, until that West Street project is done,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we can even address that. And I think we left it is that's something that DPW and engineering would
Okay,
come up with what's feasible, if anything. I can't promise anything.
I understand.
Because they have to look at traffic flow and probably discuss it with OPD as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
We haven't, had some time to really delve into that and further
Yeah,
discuss.
that's fine. That's fine.
Any, Scott or Mark, do you have anything you want to add? Okay. All right.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Our first topic is one actually I brought forward because somebody from my ward that lives on the street had some concerns. That's a 282 request. Right now, Irving has kind of a weird parking scenario where they have some days where they can park on one side of the street and other days they can park on both sides of the street. And it's a weird time shift. And of course, people that live there seem to be getting tickets all the time too. The history of it, when I talked to Lori Zimnowitz, who lives on the street, was that about maybe 15 years ago when they redid that street, I think this is back before you were here, Greg. They completely rebuilt the street and the sidewalks, and the agreement was they were going to make the street as long as they maintained some degree of parking on both sides, because one side of the street has enough off-street parking and the other side only has room for one car. In some of their lots, not all of them, because I know Hutch has a good sized driveway. So that's what they came up with. Now, fast forward to now is the initial complaint was because they all seem to be getting tickets and they can't keep track of when the parking shifts, which I think that's a valid point. But then also the complaint was when there's snow on the streets, that a plow has difficulty getting down the street. So what they wanted was, this person wanted was to have alternate side of the street parking only like everywhere else in the city. But I do know that other people on that street have concerns about that. So at this point, I'd like to bring it to you two to see what you have to add about anything that I asked you. I'll speak to the devil. Let's talk about you.
The devil? And what did you say? And exactly what did you say?
No, you gave me the history of the street and why the parking is the way it is.
Yes.
Right now. Do you have anything you want to add at all?
Well, I gave you a suggestion that I think,
I haven't gotten there yet,
oh, okay, then I won't speak about it.
but I'll open it up to you.
But I do, okay, later, because I have another comment or a question on the task.
Okay, all right. So Chris and Greg, if you want to go through what you'd like to on this.
Sure. So I drove down the street. I did take a good look at it. I do not think we should have parking on both sides of the street at the same time. It's a very tight street, especially if we have plowing conditions and you have vehicles on both sides. There's no way you're going to plow down there. So I do think we need to alternate so there's only one parking on one side of the street we need to alternate because of street sweeping. So I put together a 282 request to change the parking. Kind of, I'll be honest, I didn't really kind of flip of the coin on what side I did one side versus the other. But basically on the right here. On the south side, I want to change it from no parking from Tuesday 6 PM to Wednesday 6 PM to the new proposed signage would be parking this side except Monday 6 PM to Tuesday 6 PM. And then on the north side, you put 4 pages in on your packet. I don't know if they have the same packet I have, but it currently on the north side is no parking from Monday 6 PM to Tuesday 6 PM. I want to change that to parking this side Monday 6 PM to Tuesday 6 PM only.
One of the sides, I believe, is gonna have more parking availability than the other, but I don't remember which side. Now you're saying when there's parking on both sides, are you positive a plow cannot get down that street?
It's a very tight street. You definitely cannot do two-way. Like if there are two-way traffic, it's two-way traffic street.
Right, but
So if
let's
they're
say,
parking on both sides, you'd have to weave in and out of one another if you're.
but let's say
parking it.
you've got parking on both sides, we have storms, 6 inches of snow goes down. Nobody's traveling, but there's cars parked on both sides. Can a plow get down that street?
Technically, if there's 6 inches of snow.
They're not supposed to be
park
there.
on the street anyway.
So the problem is people don't always get the notice and their cars are parked there anyways. And sometimes we get a situation where you have a car parked on both sides of the street.
Well, we're not towing anymore either.
No, we're just ticketing.
Well, we really should start toning it.
Well, wait,
Yes.
well, hold on.
Yes.
I still haven't had my question answered. I don't disagree with anybody, but
Kind of probably
can a
down.
plow get down there if there's no traffic and there's cars parked on both sides?
Are you talking about?
Yes, but it's very tight.
Is it a pickup truck, Chris, or is it like a?
A pickup truck, definitely. A larger one, it's very tight.
But can get down there.
Yes, but it's very tight. Like if you had two F-150 pickup truck parked on either side, you might not make it through. But if you have two small sedans, it might not be a problem.
Well, there's only one pickup truck that big on that street anyway, so. Okay,
Dave, can I ask
yeah.
a question? What was the complaint? Just that it's tight with parking on both sides?
The complaint started as multiple people were getting ticketed because they couldn't follow the alternate side of the street parking rules, which are not really alternate side. It's kind of a bizarre, like I sat there scratching my head trying to understand the signs. Am I crazy?
No, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird overlap. And so, you know, and I'm the one that has always been the first one to say, you have no sympathy for me about getting a ticket for not moving your car on time. I get very little sympathy about that, but I get it with the way that is done on that street. So it started out as that, and then it became in the winter time with plowing, and if we got done with lots of snow and people will come in both directions on that street. And I know when there's, if you've got parking on both sides and people are going down that street in different directions, you can't go by, you've got to pull over until they go by you. So I get that. The street sweeping, that's the issue everywhere, but I'll be honest, I mean, we have lots of streets that still don't get swept. We have a street sweeper because we've tried to do alternate side and it doesn't happen, or on the days that we do alternate side, it's not when the street sweeper goes down, so inevitably there's one side that never gets swept anyway. My biggest concern is can we plow the different street? So do you two have anything else you want to add about this at this point? Any new info outside of what Chris has already
As
said?
Chris said, you know, minimum, just to maybe elaborate on what he said, a minimum drive lane if you design for a street, you travel.
Yeah.
And then the parking it can be set up for 5.
Yeah.
So that 34 feet wide.
Right.
Required to have parking on both sides. There's about 130 foot there.
Yeah.
So it's not wide enough. You would design a street that way. But obviously, we have other streets in the city that are accepted, you know, essentially with 1 lane with 2-way traffic streets. It's not the only example of an odd street that exists.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
Come along with that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So Mark, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah, I just want to clarify with Chris, and you've talked about snowplows, my concern being emergency vehicles, like kind of a, you know, fireman who's trying to get down there, you know, it seems like that'd be a problem. Is that
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
assumption?
Well, I will say what the former police chief said a couple of years ago, when a similar, actually a much worse issue was brought up down off, in one of the side streets, down off of Chestnut, Don Scanlon Street. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he kind of chuckled to that same question that was asked, and he says, if we need to get down the street, we're gonna get down the street. So those fire trucks are big and heavy enough that if they gotta get down there and stop the fire, they're gonna run right over what's in front of them. So,
Right. Well, recognizing that, but still, we don't want to make this a
right,
convenience in our house.
right, but it's not gonna be a life or death issue. If they need to get down there, they're gonna get down there, but I think an ambulance can get down there without an issue, as long as not somebody else in the other direction. You have anything you want to ask at this point? Then I'm gonna open it up to the floor. Right
no,
now.
I was just, it was clarified when you said it was more of a confusing way it was marked, and
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. One side's Mondays and Tuesday, Monday through Tuesday, other side's Tuesday through Wednesday, and it's both sides outside of that.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So what's confusing about that? You can't park Monday to Tuesday on one side to 6 o'clock, and then Tuesday, 6 o'clock to Wednesday, 6 o'clock on the other side. What's confusing?
Well, the confusing thing is why is there parking on both sides Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Because I think Dave explained the history.
I think, Lori, I think the issue, anybody that doesn't live on that street looks at that and they scratch their head trying to figure out where they can park legally and where they can't park legally. Do you have anything you want to add to this whole?
Well, first of all, I would tell you that the people on the street really do want both sides of the street parking, because a lot of the driveways are short, and if they have guests, they have no place to park people. There is an issue that a lot of students from East Street and Maple Street park on this street when they can't find parking on Maple or East Street, they park. We are, and I'm going to speak for the whole street, we're very annoyed that, for instance, during the snowstorm, there were 6 vehicles that were left on the street during the snowstorm. This is not unusual. And until the last snowstorm, they weren't being ticketed, and they sure as heck better be towed, because it's unfair to us who are paying the taxes that we can't get vehicles down the street when that happens. I mean, this happened on one side, 6 vehicles this last snowstorm, and it was hard for the big truck to come through. It truly was. We don't always have a big truck on that street. Often it's a pickup truck, but the property owners are really annoyed that the cars are not being towed. There are certainly vehicles to market what the requirements are. And our feeling is, after the first storm, if they were towed, we wouldn't see very many on the street, and that would be very easy for our city workers to then work. But not towing them, and my understanding is there is an ordinance that requires towing.
It's still there.
So why are we not following? What do we do? Pick laws we want to follow and laws we don't? Charge whatever it is to have your car towed? to the individuals.
Yeah, it actually started with our last city manager because of the amount of workload it took to, the manpower it took to tow all the vehicles that were left.
But
we
but
have
we
a-
could find, we
I don't
could find a
disagree with you.
contractor to do it, or, you know,
Well,
there are solutions to it.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just giving you the history here. So. Okay,
So anyway, so most of the people on the street that we've contacted, including the people that brought this to you, Dave, agree that there could be a solution that would allow both sides of the street parking, and that would be to make the street, which would cut down a lot of traffic, one way from Maple to East. Only a one-way street, Maple to East. Right now, part of the issue that the residents have a concern about is a lot of people cut down Irving Place to miss the light on Spruce Street and East. So they come lickety split down and then they come lickety split to the street. If the street was going one way from Maple to East, we wouldn't have that traffic, and it would cut down on traffic in general.
Lori, I
It's just a suggestion.
just have one other question for you, and then I want to bring this back for a discussion here. Did you talk with everybody on the street about that?
There are a couple of people who don't come to their door, so no, we did not speak to everybody. We did not speak to all of the tenants in the rental houses,
Okay,
but we talked to the regular residents that own houses and live in them,
okay. All right,
except
so
for
it's
one, except for one.
So it's essentially everybody but two houses and then a full-time resident?
Yeah, there's a full-time resident who doesn't come to his door very often.
Is it the one across from the Swans?
Correct, in the little brown house.
Okay, all right. Okay, so thoughts, guys? Scott?
I'll just say,
Well, hold on a second. Do you have, if you want,
Yes, I
if
think
you have
it's-
something to add, just let us know your name.
Okay,
And
Victoria
where you live?
Spataro. I think it's a simple resolution. You could either do like alternate side, or you could have a telephone system where somebody calls in, verifies the plate, the address, make sure that they're there. If they're there illegally, ticket them or tow them. It's so simple.
Well, all I'm gonna say about the towing
Or
is
refer
that's gonna
to,
be a whole other discussion with the entire council.
you can refer to ECB, which is Environmental Control Board.
Excuse me?
You can refer to ECB. They give tickets for the snow removal, the garbage pails, right?
Not in the city, that's.
Oh, that's a different, oh,
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
different. So that's gonna be a whole other discussion with the entire council about it.
Okay.
So, Scott, you,
So if they want both way, I don't know if Chris or Greg had any chance to think about one way there. But what if it was just, maybe just as simple as the one side from, like, say, November 1st to April 1st, there was no parking there for the winter for the most part, and then, I mean, we're always gonna get that fluke snowstorm in April, May. But that would alleviate the problem during the winter, but it'd still leave it up during the months, the summer months and stuff on both sides. I don't live there, so it's just a general question.
well, we also, it's an idea, I'd like to have some symmetry with the rest of the city, but we don't have symmetry there right now.
Well, maybe the other thing too is I know we've been talking about a parking study throughout the whole city, because we have similar issues down in the 6th ward, is what we're discussing here. Maybe we just gotta really just get the parking stuff done through citywide and try to come up with a game plan.
Well, Mark? Anything you wanna add?
No, I don't see an easy solution.
Is the floor still,
No,
oh, it isn't, okay.
sorry.
I mean, this is, right, there's issues. I understand having been on a street that has, parking only on one side, it's difficult. We do have, you know, guests that want to come visit. I recognize that. I also recognize that there are concerns about the plow or the vehicle. So it's a tough one. I mean, the one way is interesting. I'm just trying to think about how that would impact traffic patterns in that area, whether we would have an unintended consequence. So I don't have a strong opinion, let's try to think this through as Scott is and try to see if there's something else that we can suggest that might make this more workable for both the residents as well as for be consistent with the rest of the city as well.
Well, I can certainly relate to the issue of having lots of people parking on the street that don't live on the street, and then they fill up the spaces, because that's actually why Normal Avenue has no parking, no overnight
It's
parking
illegal parking.
from.
Can you please stop?
Sorry.
They have no overnight parking from, it's in, what is it, September until May 1st. And that's because students would leave their cars there and it would be parked overnight, 24/7 for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. My opinion, I would lean toward making it a one-way, and the only question I have is if we have a storm, can the plows get down? But then it also comes back to that question about we're not towing at the moment, and I think we need to revisit that. I know it's time consuming, but we're seeing it impact different areas. And if we're not, I mean, I've even noticed on Elm Street and Maple Street with the last couple storms we've had where cars aren't moved and you just have mounds of snow everywhere. And even when the students, and actually, I think back at the corner of my street, the students left their car and they couldn't get it out because they didn't move it. And so the snow covered the car. And when they finally got it out, you still had that there, so nobody could park it. So,
Personal wants to say something.
yeah, sorry, Chris.
I think the one way is not a bad idea. We will still need an alternate rotation. I know you're saying that we don't get all the streets swept, but we still will need an alternate rotation so we can try to sweep the streets. So at least one day a week, we'll need to have a, point where there's no parking on one side or the other.
I think, just to jump on that, like the way that the alternate side parking is set up now, as you know, throughout the city, any new street that we've done, like, other than exceptions that are in place. If the Monday is usually 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that would perfect. That would require the street sweeper to get every alternate side parking in the street, which is on that day, which isn't really possible for a number of reasons. There might be something else going on with the sweepers down or whatever. So as part of this overall parking study, we will be looking at that angle. Like, does it make sense to keep the same alternate side parking set up everywhere in the city as we have now, or do we have zones or something? But just something to consider. What we have now on the street is essentially set up so there's two side parking and one day a week for each side. It doesn't have parking, and that's apparently what's confusing for people.
What's the timeline on the parking study?
Hasn't begun yet. On staff resources. So
Well, I was at first thinking we could potentially change this to one way and leave everything as is until the parking study's done, but if the parking study is nearly done, we have the whole thing, but what are your thoughts on this, Mark?
Well, Chris, would like a November to April 1st thing work for winter?
It's not a bad idea. It's something we can consider.
I mean, I know it's different, but I mean,
that's done on other streets. I don't know, I can't say for certain which ones. I think that actually you're referencing to James Walter can tell you, I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah,
There's some other smaller streets that are sounded that way.
but you're saying during the winter, not parking on one side of the street.
yeah, just eliminate the parking on the one side, that way the plow won't have to worry about it. Then during summer, it's opened up to the residents so that they can park on both sides.
I don't think that's gonna solve the problem though, because you also have holidays in that zone of where it would be only one side of the street parking. And I think we wanted to, the residents that live there not having any place to park during the winter months. It would take care of the plowing, the street cleaning. I think it comes back to,
Well, I'm looking at her because she lives on the street.
Well,
I don't
I mean, to
know.
me, you're not supposed to park in the street when you need a plow.
Right,
That is, That's the issue.
Right, well, that's.
Get
what
this,
is-
get the cloud, you know what, it causes the residents a problem when they can't get down their street and there's snow in the streets and so on and so forth. And
What are you
the only other point I would make is, a lot of families have 2 cars. And on one side of that street, the driveways are really short, some of them can't take 2 cars. So,
Okay. Mark, do you have any added thoughts on this?
I'm not familiar with others, but I guess I am a little worried about, there's a ripple effect here. I think there's a number of streets that would love to figure out how to park on both sides as well, and it's just. How does that affect others?
Well, a lot of other streets aren't as narrow as this, so we gotta keep that in mind. Cedar, Spruce, Center, they're all wide enough for both sides. Actually, no,
Those are the same.
yeah, actually, yeah, because when Cedar has parking on both sides, you can't get 2 cars down in the middle.
But we're never gonna find a perfect solution.
No, we're not.
We just gotta try to come up with the best solution that we can.
Well, then I'd like to suggest, I mean, we have 2 ideas on the floor, the one way and your idea of the other one. I mean, I would give it back to you, Chris, sorry, and say, take a look at those and figure out, what it might be. I mean, are we missing anything? I don't want to just jump on and say, yeah, let's do it one way without having thought through all the implications that it would be. And I'm sitting here staring at this, trying to visualize it. I don't see them anything, but yeah, you and your expertise might look at this a little differently.
We can take a look at it and come back at the next meeting and have a discussion on it again.
That was only my suggestion. That's
Yeah, because the one thing I've heard a lot with is people, especially in the morning, come racing down East Street, cut through Irving, and then continue in the center city, down Maple
right.
and weave their way through.
So Dave,
So that would stop that.
if we did the one way, we'd still have to do the one day of alternate or however it was gonna go to do the street sweeping.
Right.
Okay.
Just to verify, you want one way from Maple to East. You want to try to get it right?
yeah.
Okay,
Well, the reason for Maple to East is because people come lickety split down East, try to miss the light as
that
soon
will
as they
prevent
see it.
that.
And which, just, it tamps down to traffic a bit.
I've done it before, I accidentally went up a one-way and almost got.
So thanks for listening.
No, it's about public safety.
The only other thing I would suggest is that, because if we do it one way towards east, we're gonna increase the volume. We might wanna look at the setbacks in terms of parking setbacks there, so that sight line is real clear.
Increase the volume of,
I'm just saying, take a look at the setbacks.
No, do you-
So-
what do you mean, increase driving volume on East?
Well, that means that everybody in Irving, theoretically, now rather than going different ways, now we'll all be going the same way out. So we're gonna increase the number of people that are exiting Irving on the east street, looking to make a left or a right.
Gotcha.
The left there is a little challenging at times, having said at that intersection for many years. You've got the cars that come downhill and there's sometimes a little
Yeah.
difficult to see people in the kind of bottom of that hill. The right-hand turn is not a problem, but I just would think we need to just take a look at those setbacks, make sure that they're optimal if we're gonna have increased traffic. That's what I'm thinking.
That's actually a good idea, Chris, because we've found in the last couple of years that there's some setbacks for parking that block view, and we realized that the setback was not up to date with current standards. So I think there was one over near,
Pine.
Yeah.
I just did a couple months
Yeah.
ago.
and a few years ago, we changed on Maple Street, Maple and Cotter, and then I think we were looking to change it again. Yeah. Okay, so you guys will take a look at that and bring it back next month?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Scott, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I
Good?
I'm the same opinion, Mark. I don't wanna jump on something, and make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Good?
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks for listening.
okay. Next, summer programming, and I'm not really sure where we're gonna be able to go with this one today, but, I think it's a good idea to have a discussion about this, or at least start a discussion about this, because Everybody I've talked to that has young kids is desperately trying to find summer places for their kids so they can work. And I did a little bit of looking today and looking at the Y program, not here, but there's a Y program outside of town. Of course, I wrote all this stuff down and I left the paper at home, so I apologize. Camp Shankatunk in Delhi, their week-long program for a day camper is $200. This other Y program is $250. I think Bugby's program is $250. So basically, most programs per week per child, one child, not if you have 2 or 3 or 4, because then they usually get some kind of discount. But one child is hovering around 200 or more. We used to have the program years ago, as everybody here knows, which for residents it was free, but it became cost prohibitive because I don't know the numbers of how many kids came. I don't know how many people were being paid. I do know that the salaries of the people that worked for the camps, they were unionized with the city workers, so every year they would get a bump in salary, and there were some people that had been working for a couple decades and had a really good hourly wage. I think Ginny said that the cost of the camp was roughly $35,000 plus all the fees and the equipment and the insurance brought it up to roughly $60,000 or so. So her opinion is that we can't afford to do that, especially looking at our budget cycle. It looks like there's no way we can do it. But I think we need to have a discussion about, do we want to figure out a way to do this for next year? Because in my opinion, if we can make this happen, that's a huge relief for parents that live in the city, and that's something that people are more likely to say, hey, let's try to find a house maybe within the city limits. We've got young kids, that's a bonus. Maybe people that live within the town that their kids are already in the district, but this might be something to draw them to Center City too. I did a little bit of numbers just on the fly today, looking at 200 to 250 a kid, let's say. I mean, the one thing we never did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we never charged, but if you charge, even if it's 100 a week, or an 8-week program, 50 kids, and I know we used to have way more than 50 kids. That brings in a significant amount of that cost to have the actual program. So that's all I have to start this. I don't have any other specific information. I did, one thing you should be aware of is I sent a note to Tom Brindley, and he sent an email out to city staff or city school staff asking if the city ever went back to that program, would anybody be interested in working in summer, and what would the price point be to work? Because we used to hire the licensed teaching assistants and college students that would run these programs every year. So he hasn't gotten back to me with that yet, but Carrie is, I'm sorry, Katie is aware that Tom was doing that also. Katie Becker. So. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, I was doing the math on your proposal there.
Yeah, if you did 200, let's say we give no discount to city residents, 200, 50 kids a week, $200 a week per kid, 8 weeks, it would cover the cost of the program.
I would just pose the question, a rhetorical question, I suppose.
Everything's
Why,
wide at this point.
why can the YMCA not recruit people to work to be paid to do this program now? The same summertime school workers who might work for the city, why would they work for the YMCA?
Everything I've been told over the last couple of years is that why would you work And for this, for minimum wage, when you can work for this group for 15 to 20 bucks an hour. So some, the baseball camps, everybody I know that works at the baseball camps gets a really good hourly wage over there, that's more than the wide pays.
I know like with the lifeguards, it's, they lost it to like the state and stuff like that, cause they were paying almost like $30-40 an hour.
Well,
Unless you go to a
the
retirement system.
lifeguards through the Y earn minimum wage,
Mhm.
and every year they have, like, last year, they had lots of lifeguards, nobody worked full-time. There were some kids that only got a few hours a week, so, I think that if we're willing to pay for people to work what they want to be paid or deserve to be paid, we're gonna find workers. There's a lot of LTAs from the school that work baseball camps in the summer, because they get 15 bucks an hour or more. So,
I think it's good to have a discussion. I think it's good to look at the future. You know, so. But when I look at a $20-some million budget and I look at $60,000, that's.
but if we, what if we covered it with the cost to go to the camp?
Well, no, I'm just saying, to me, $60,000 to me seems doable on a $20 million budget.
yeah.
It's just where we're gonna.
But even if we, let's say it's 60 grand and we had, the cost percentage hit there covers 70% of that cost. So you're talking $18,000 left that we have to come up with, which we can do. And now, another thing, I could send out an email to Dave Burzik to see, is it possible to have a parks fee that would cover the cost of this? That's a much bigger discussion with the council. But I think finding a way to alleviate this massive stress that every parent has starting in March every year, that seems to be getting worse every year, I think would go a very long way.
Obviously, as you know, there was previously a full-time recreation department.
Yeah.
We don't have that now. I'm not sure who would manage. We had additional, whatever number of employees who would be supervising. those employees.
Was it full-time?
We had a full-time recreation director, and a full-time. I'm not sure which recreation assistant or what the title was.
And they managed all the different programs. We had softball and volleyball and basketball.
Now we have
Or-
Blue part-time administrator. Parks administrator manages those things, less the programming.
So Lou's only part-time.
That's right.
Okay.
But I was still, I mean, obviously it's worth a conversation with YMCA, but, you know, their proposal for this year was to be discussed at tonight's finance meeting. And we could not find people, I'm not sure what wages are offering since minimum wage.
Well, I can only say, you know, they start all their lifeguards at minimum wage. New York State minimum wage. I can't speak for anything else.
I'm not sure if we were having that conversation. If they're gonna pay more, if the city could pay more, see it more, which may be more, I would think would be more cost effective than the city going back to hiring employees and like with a full-time person. There might be another way to look at that.
But basic economics are, if you need a position filled and you can't fill it, if you offer more, eventually you're gonna hit that price point where you're gonna fill it.
I don't know, just looking up the work, we're having problems filling, we're getting pretty.
Yeah, but we're talking part-time positions here for 8 weeks, where you've got a ton of people in our city school system. And an awful lot of students, what, 6,500, 77,000 students, that most of them have the summer off. We should be able to get a pool of people to work for 8 weeks if we pay them the right amount.
Dave, can you read commentary from the floor? You
Yeah,
need to also take a look at what the new regulations are. If you're gonna run a full-time camp. Okay, The state's gonna put you through, you know,
Right,
Greg's
right.
comment about maybe we don't wanna do this.
Lori, yes, absolutely.
You know,
That's a
there's
whole
a
other
huge
thing.
amount of hoops to jump through, and you gotta do it early.
My next suggestion was gonna be to have Kate Becker and Ginny come to our next meeting to have a discussion about this and what it would entail, because I know they're already talking about this and had some discussion because of that whole side of it.
Yeah, because like up at work, the minute we say camp for anything, the Department of Health is. I think it's very, because you put the word camp in it.
And there's a difference between half day and
Yeah.
full day in terms of their requirements, so.
Right, then you're getting into food
I
too.
think with the staffing, the ratio has increased since this program has, so that the 60K is probably, you know, on the low end of things.
Yeah.
Here's my 2 cents. I mean, I'm absolutely fully support trying to get programs and programming for our families, no doubt. I benefited from it when I had young kids. I just don't know that the best avenue is for us to go down that road in terms of doing it. There is a lot of cost. There certainly is. I wonder if there's other ways that we can work with the YMCA to partner. Now, if it is about minimum wage is truly the obstacle, and I'll also put it out there that I'm working right now at the school district that has an after-school program that pays well in excess of minimum wage and still can't find people. It's because people want their summer times, you know, and they don't want to be working and you know, there's a whole lot of reasons for it as well. So I wonder if we want to look at working with the YMCA to work on grants or something like this, or ways to enhance the program rather than trying to recreate and start from scratch. And we do other things to be able to help them expand their pay, because we're gonna have to offer an awful lot to be able to fill these positions. You know, the school I'm working with is well over $40 an hour and still can't fill them. So,
Well, and just so we're clear, again, I can only speak for the lifeguard positions, so I know that what they said. I have no idea what they're offering with their other program. So.
I would agree with Mark, and I think that maybe we should sit down and have a conversation with Frank from the YMCA. Invite him to come and ask him what the hurdles are, and, you know, let him explain it to us firsthand. You know,
So you want me to reach out to Frank and invite him to our next meeting instead of Katie and Ginny at this point?
I would, let's, you know, see what the hurdles are, because maybe it's, you know.
I would agree with that, Scott. I mean, I think Frank is gonna know better than Katie or Jenny, but not run a recreational daycare camp type program. They'd have to do some research. I think Frank, YMCA's already our partner, let's work with him.
exactly.
See if we can-
Yeah, he did step up with the Y and make sure we at least had something down in the park. So.
Yeah.
So,
Not to mention, I would be concerned how this would impact them, right, if we didn't have this trade angle. So rather than pull away to ourselves, can we enhance what they're doing? I think that's a question I'm going to mention.
I don't, wait, do you mean impact, what, you're afraid this would impact them as in pull business away from them?
Yeah.
From what I've been hearing, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I think there was a program in Cobleskill that they opened up for, I think it was 50 students, 30 students. I was told by a parent that it was closed within an hour from when they opened it up. That's how quickly it filled up, and that was for $250 a week. So I don't think with the number of parents that are looking for places to take their kids, I think it would take an awful large program at this point to really have a negative impact on the line.
So is the Y free to everyone? Or what's the cost of the Y? The Y.
I don't know because I haven't even said what their program is. I don't know what the cost is.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a member cost and a non-member cost too.
I'd also be concerned about the cost, that there's some city residents that might not be able to afford that. I mean, childcare is so expensive, so putting that there as well.
Typically, the Y is run a program where if you can't afford it because of your income, there's ways that they can supplement that to lower the cost down for you.
Right, okay.
It's on a sliding scale, isn't it true, Laura? You used to be on the board.
Yeah. They have scholarships and
Yeah.
they can work around it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll reach out to Frank, and ask him to come to our meeting for next month. So. All right, we have anything else that we wanna talk about, anything you wanna bring up?
Oh, yeah, sure. Real quick, since we're talking about some parking issues. The temporary stop sign, just to let Chris and Greg know, on Clinton Street, I don't think people even know it's even there, because they still blow right through it, even though it says new, nice big stop, just so you guys know.
Well, it's good to know because we were actually considering maybe making it permanent.
I don't know if it's because you got all the cars parked there down the side of Clinton Street. But, you know, I sat there today at Anderson doing some work on my phone. I kept looking up every time a car comes down. Some of them saw it after the fact. So I don't know if there's. I just want to bring it to your attention that, you know, that might be
The reason we did the stop signs is because coming up Cherry Street,
the.
it's, you know, slippery conditions, wet out, icy. If you stop at that intersection, you're not gonna get going again. So we felt
Oh, I know.
we would try to put the stop signs to stop people to, you know, get a glance of what's going on at Cherry and give the people coming up Cherry a little more chance. That was the idea.
No, I just wanted to bring it up to your attention.
Yeah.
That's all.
I haven't been on that part of Clinton Street since the project started, so you're talking Clinton and right in front of Hardwick,
Yeah, right on.
at the corner of
Just
Cherry?
past-
Cherry and Clinton come together.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's a very steep.
And it might just be, like I said, it might be just because you got all those cars parked out that, you know, because your stop sign kind of sits here and the cars got everybody pushed out here, and then they're coming.
We did no parking from, was it Cayuga? From Cayuga to the stop sign. So are they blowing that stop sign or is it coming from the other way? Or both?
Both. More so the one going towards our facility shop.
Okay,
Put a stop on it.
we put a stop bar there. I think we spray painted, didn't we? I haven't been up there since we asked them to do it.
I'm not sure if I saw anything on the ground or not. That's what I was there.
I'll have to check on that. I know we talked about it.
Tomorrow, if you want, I can send you a picture of what it looks like.
Sure.
I'll take a special trip.
Okay.
It might just take a lot of time to change habits over there, sorry. To change habits over there, it might just take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people also use that as a cut through to avoid going down, well, when Western, so in general. That way to cut through to.
Do it a lot.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of almost head ons right on that curve between Chestnut and as you come up around Clinton by the facility shop there. Yep. Oh.
It's a very tough intersection with or without any stop signs, especially for people pulling off a Cherry.
Okay, if we've got nothing else that we want to add, we have no exec session, but I